What's up, guys? Jacob Wheeler here alongside with my buddy Mark Daniels Jr. We are here at Conroe for the second stop, but before we get into everything, I want to give you guys an opportunity to sort of recap the Kissimmee chain. You know, obviously, Connell actually hadn't quite made it here, but so we want to have an opportunity to sort of to talk about what actually went down last week down there. You know, a little bit in depth on how you caught your fish, how I caught my fish, and ultimately more so just talking about the event and more getting a little bit more in depth. I think that's the biggest thing. You know, you guys see a lot of those videos that we shoot. You know, and that's a lot of fun, but talking a little bit more in depth, what was going on, what transpired through the event, some of the conditions, and so on and so forth, you know. So, I mean, overall, you know, Florida, just to sort of set this up, it's very weather dependent, in my opinion.
Oh, big time. I mean,
huge.
Those Florida, obviously in Florida, they're all Florida strain bass, unlike most of the bass in the rest of the country, which are northern strain, especially in the central and northern states and even out west. Those Florida bass are extremely temperamental when you got weather changes going on.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. You know, when you have cold fronts, I mean, looking back at the events we fished a few events there. We fished FLW Tour events, we fished Bass Opens there. You know, when we have those cold front events, I mean, there was 220 boats probably in a lot of those Bass Opens that we fished. I mean, you've got to check every single time. I got to check, I think, both times I fished there as well. But, you know, in that condition, you know, it was taken probably for a top 40, 11 a day.
Well, to be exact, last year, just in January, I fished the Bass Open down there, and it was super tough. Same deal. Seems like every time we go, cold front. Well, fishing was super tough. I barely caught, 6 to 7 fish a day, and I had exactly that, 11 pounds a day, and there was 225 boats, and I finished 34th. So, to your point.
Absolutely, and this is the thing. For me, truthfully, you know, you guys, we talk about the format and what's going on with Major League Fishing. And one thing that I'm a very big proponent of is, like, you know, in Florida, it's a lot about 1 or 2 big bites. You guys see a lot of those 1-pounders, 2-pounders. Mark had an unbelievable first day. You know, caught a lot of good quality.
First period.
Unbelievable. Absolutely crushed them. You know, we were both in the same vicinity, which is crazy because we can't even talk to each other during practice. So I don't even know exactly what went down other than after the tournament. So, you know, diving into that, you know, with the cold front, we had to change it up a little bit. And the one thing that I do think about by that cold front in fishing, like with this format, this is what makes sense to me. When you go to Florida, a lot of times you might be fishing the same area, spawning area, right? And you flip around in this area. Say you and me are fishing the same area. I catch 60 bass, but I catch all bucks, right? You catch 7 bass. You catch 1 7-pounder. I have 10 pounds. You got 16 pounds.
Exactly.
Hey, or 14 pounds, and you're in the top 15 or the top 20, and I'm in 70th place.
That's right.
Truly. Were you the better fisherman, or were you just the fortunate one to get the bite?
Just got the bite.
And that's what I mean. That for me, that's when you see a lot of the things of us talking about, like catching fish and like, hey, I caught this one, I caught that one. You know, I feel like and getting dialed in, just getting dialed in and getting bites. Truly, a lot of times I feel like Florida. Now I've had some good events in Florida, but there's a lot of luck factor in Florida with getting a couple dry bites.
Yeah, you said it right the first time. Florida, generally speaking, whether it's Okeechobee, the Kissimmee chain, the Harris chain, or over in Palatka, the St. Johns River, for the most part, you have to have a big one. And in Florida, I'm considering, I'll say 5 pounds.
Yeah, I'd say I agree.
Yeah, 5-pounder, 5 pounds and larger is going to be considered a big one. And in those 5 fish derbies, for sure, you got to have 1 or 2 of those. But even in our format, to get yourself toward the top of that leaderboard, you kind of need some numbers, so you need some of those 1s to 2s, but then you need that separator, which is still going to be that fish, that 5+ pounder.
We've seen it all week. We've seen that all week. I mean, look at Connell.
The
last day. I mean, a knockout round comes from like nowhere.
Absolutely nowhere.
And catches a 9-something and some 4s. Had like 27 pounds in his best 5 that day.
Crushed him.
But he got on a deal. He was dialed in. And he crushed him in just a matter of minutes.
Crushed him.
And that's what I mean. That's the kind of stuff that I got to give a lot of the credit. People don't see that. And with this format, you're going to see things. I would say there's a bigger spectrum in Florida where you have either little ones and big ones. There's a big, broad spectrum. When you go to Minnesota, it's a lot of 2 and 3, 3.5 pounders.
Several of the same.
It's different.
The quality is more consistent.
I would agree. So that's going to change throughout the year with the venues we go to.
Yeah, and we got some unique venues coming up that we hadn't been to. I've never been to, like Conroe. I've never been here. This is going to be a new experience. It's going to be interesting with the whole score tracker update, knowing what the guys are doing, making those adjustments. You know, you heard me say it before. That's going to play into it as well. And so, you know, just get out here and see what's going to go on. But that's certainly something that's going to be different and new. We got North Carolina, a couple lakes up there I've never been to. But I think you're going to start to see now that we're away from Florida, the more consistent quality. And I'm going to say, I'm going to gauge that right around a 2.5 pound bass to maybe 3.25.
Dude,
the consistency of
I would agree with
that is what you're going to see toward the top now.
I would absolutely agree with that. So, like, you know, obviously we talked about last week, we had a good time. Mark, you know, sort of a rundown overview of your week.
Yeah.
You know, how did you end up catching them?
So, first day of the tournament, I had a little deal going at Toho where I was flipping shallow grass, balled up hydrilla. It was subsurface. It was actually pretty hard to see. And so I felt like no one else could find it. Yeah, it was
sneaky.
It was sneaky.
You sneaky like that?
But it wasn't deep though. You know,
yeah.
When you think subsurface, most guys are, you know, that 4 to 6 depth range in the hydrilla.
Yeah, but everybody's looking for topped out stuff.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
And that's the difference.
Yeah.
With looking for the sneaky subsurface
That's
stuff.
the sneaky grass.
But it was shallow. But I had so many bites in it. We had that bad cold front the second day of practice, and I swear in a 20-yard proximity, I had 10 bites quick. And I knew I wasn't going to light the score tracker up with no big ones, but I said I can come in here and start in here, and I'll put up, you know, 4, 5, 6, just keeper bass real quick.
Just to start the momentum going.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
get the day rolling.
Absolutely.
And so I pull in there day one. Long story short, I flipped all that grass. I got 2 bites. Both of them are what in MLF they consider a non-scoreable bass. And so they were 14 ounces, both of them. So them suckers were doinking me in practice. I'm like, oh, you're at least 2.
Yeah, you're at least 2 pounds.
Come back, catch them suckers. They 14 ounces, non-scoreable. So I had to abandon that first thing in the morning. I come through the lock, and as soon as I pop through the lock, who do I see? None other than my boy, Jay Wills, sitting on a little deal that I actually got on, but not the specific spot he was on, but similar pattern. And so I shot past him down probably, half mile maybe?
Yeah, probably about half mile.
Or so, and I pulled up on the next little outcropping or irregularity in the canal there where I had some bites on my new signature crankbait MR6, and man, it was game on. I just happened to roll up at the right time,
locked up.
It was dinged up on that little spot, and I lit the score tracker up. I think I caught 2 3.5s, a 410, 2.5, and some other just keepers, but every single one of them came on that crankbait, man.
So you let me have the littles up there, and you were catching all the bigs back down low.
You left me the bigs down low.
I just didn't get there quite.
That's right. Yeah. You didn't make that move.
I didn't quite there. I was like, gosh dang. So you ended up catching them on a crankbait. You got an MR6.
Yeah.
His new signature series bait.
Yeah.
And then, you know, later on in the week, as the week went on, you know, I ended up catching a lot of my fish doing the same thing. I caught them on a nail weight or a Nico rig with a weedless Nico hook and about a 16th ounce or 8th ounce actually Nico head.
Wow.
On that you can bait some shapeworm. So you know, and you caught fish doing it very similar, but you know, your main deal was your crankbait.
Main deal was a crankbait.
And so like a jerkbait played as well for me a little bit.
Yep.
I caught like 3 or 4 or 5 on a jerkbait, and it was all about that current. With this is one thing that I did a lot. I actually fished a lot of that area in practice, and I did not catch them there. But it was textbook, and there was a lot of boats around those areas, and I just said, you know what? This is the thing. You don't want to get in a hurry. You want to take your time. It was cold front, and when you just start to get in that little bit of a rhythm, hit this, hit that, hit some stuff that looks good. My plan was just to fish the current the first period.
Yeah.
And caught some fish, and you caught some fish, and we had a good first round. And so like, you know, just a little bit of a backstory on the format. The first 2 days for the Bass Pro Tour, we ultimately have you know, we're trying to make a cut. We're trying to make a top 20.
Top 20 in our group.
Yeah, in first group in Florida, we were in Group A. Connell was in Group B, so they'll be separated in 2 groups.
Yep.
And basically what it is you can make the cut in one day if you have a great day. Like and a lot of those guys that had phenomenal days. Randy Howe, almost 50 pounds.
Spore, there was a bunch of guys.
There was a bunch of guys that had enough weight that one day to make the cut. And then there was like DC, had a horrible first day, but had enough weight that second day, they catapulted himself way back up into almost 15th and made the cut. So you'll see that, and there's a lot of strategy involved with, and I think for me is understanding it, a lot of strategy involved with that second day.
Absolutely.
Like if you can catch them the first day,
Yeah, you kind of give yourself some breathing room, if you will. But if you don't catch them on that first day, that's what's so cool and unique about this format. You are never, ever out of it. Whereas before, you catch one bass, you down in the 100th place, you 25 pounds from the cut, the likelihood is you're not going to catch that in 5 fish. Well, in this format, you go out, you find a school of fish, or you get really dialed in, and you start catching them, and you start blasting them. Next thing you know, you're atop the leaderboard, you're making that cut, and you're starting all over again with a brand new opportunity, which on the 3rd day, cut day, everybody starts at 0. So that's super cool, and that's something that we've never had before. And so it changes the mindset, and it keeps you mentally involved and keeps your head in the game from start to finish.
Yeah. So if in your mind, all right, I want to hear 2 things, all right? I want to hear 2 things you were pleasantly surprised about the format. I want to hear 2 things that you were like, man, what the heck? Like, they caught you off guard.
So, yeah, no doubt. Because in a little backstory on too, of course, everybody knows Jacob's been fishing MLF since it started. I hadn't, so I was super worried about it. Calling Jacob every day with questions. Man, I don't know about this. What about this? I don't know. So, a lot of nervousness and just excitement as well, but just uneasiness about this whole format.
Unknown. It was the unknown. And I didn't even know because it wasn't the format that I was used to. Normally, we just roll up to random lakes, and a lot of times we have no prior history on these lakes.
Right.
And so with this format with practice, I didn't even know.
Right.
You know, and that sort of made it a little bit more difficult.
For sure. I'll tell you what was really cool, and I was shocked by it because I was complaining about it initially. The 15-minute breaks.
Yeah.
So you fish for 2.5 hours, then there's a 15-minute break in between periods. And that's a really, really cool thing because I had a couple times where I had broke off and I didn't want to stop and retie, put a new leader on. I was on a spinning rod. I didn't want to put a new leader on and get that all set up again. But during that 15-minute break, you can work on tackle, you can eat lunch, you get yourself a drink of water, get hydrated, and get geared up, and it allowed me to retie all my baits. I went through, I checked all the hooks on my crankbaits, making sure everything is dialed in to kind of eliminate what I call human error. You know, you forget to change out your hooks, or you forget to retie, you break one off. Those are human errors. That's something that you could have fixed. And so that break really gives you an opportunity to go over all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, it was just more so it gave me a lot of opportunity to mess with my cameras too. Like I can make sure batteries are going and trying to make sure content is good for YouTube. So I mean, that gives us more time. And what that is truly for, sort of for all the viewers at home, what that 15-minute break is actually for, that allows the MLF officials to go back over their paperwork, make sure all the scores are in line. So if you have somebody who's catching the heck out of them, they're able to catch up with it, input those weights.
Yep.
And then that way, when everything's updated and you know for a fact it's updated after that 15-minute break, you get a score tracker update and you know exactly what's going on. And it also gives us an opportunity. I mean, think about it. Every other sport, there's timeouts. Absolutely. There's periods. Yeah. You know, in basketball, football, baseball, everything. Innings. There's always a timeout. There's always a time to regroup. And I think that's something that's very unique. You know, and so that's just, I mean, that's something that was definitely threw me for a loop too at first, and then I was like, man, this is really cool.
It's pretty cool.
You know, going to the last day, you know, I caught a lot of my fish punching the first day. I lost a couple of big ones, but I just
punching. Wait, where was you punching at? I didn't run around this whole lake looking for punch bites. Yeah, because that's what I love to do. And then here this sucker goes. we're on Earth, not specifically, but which lake did you find punching stuff?
So like for me, it was the south end of Kissimmee. You know, middle and south end of Kissimmee.
I never made it down there.
I had a couple of little places that just had a little bit cleaner water, which that was huge. That was huge on Kissimmee. There was very few places on Kissimmee. You know, Toho, they had a lot of clean water.
Yeah, a lot of
you know, all the lake pretty much is clean. Yeah. And then you got Cypress, it's a little bit more stained. And Hatchinahaw had some clean water in there. Yeah. And once you got to Kissimmee, it was like a washing machine.
Yeah.
There was very few places that I felt like had good fishable clean water.
Yep.
And so I was just fortunate to find a little area that had a little stretch. I actually had Brody in the boat with me on the last day of practice, and I had one. I flipped in there and went doink, and it about took my rod out of my hand. I said, "Oh gosh."
What kind of habitat? Like you say, you're punching. Like what kind of grass or habitat?
So I was flipping pennywort. Which you know a little bit. You know, I mean Mark. Guys, the Mark's thing. Hey, you gotta understand.
I love it. I grew up flipping on the California Delta, so you know.
He done caught more bass flipping. Hey,
no,
he done caught more bass flipping than I had bites flipping ever.
No,
but that was like, you know, but that was good for that cold weather.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That was good for that cold weather.
Yes.
But that actually transitioned and ended up not being the deal later on. I tried to make that work. I late on day number 2. I will tell you this one. Late on day number 2, I had a little sneaky little punch stretch. I'm like, run around.
Yeah.
I go chop up the pond.
Yeah.
I slide in there. I'm like, oh, perfect. All right. Now it's getting close because I sort of backed off him. Mark had got up there, and on day number 2, if you guys were watching the score tracker and understand what was going on, I was actually I was messing around on that period too. Not messing around, I'd say I was practicing because I thought I was pretty locked into the cut. All I needed to do was catch one random fish, and I was good. I had about 30 pounds.
Yep.
And I started hearing that score tracker, bing, 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 bing.
Boy.
And you were right there with me. Me and you were going back and forth.
Yeah, but
then we were
the
falling
wrong way.
down.
Yeah, going the wrong way.
We
South.
were dropping.
Yeah. We going south. Fast. Yeah.
Literally. And so at that point in time, I ran to one of the punching stretches that I thought I could save.
Yeah.
I had a couple bites there in practice. I flip in there like first flip, doink. I was like right at close to 2 pounds, and I knew at that point in time we're good.
Yeah,
we're good.
Yeah.
That was the one. Now I can go mess around, and I was solid. I knew I probably had 32 pounds, and so the cut weight. The first day was 13 pounds, and it increased. The weather got better, and the guys caught him even better. So I think that was something that threw me for a loop too, because normally in a regular 5-fish tournament, most of the time, the cut weight goes down a half pound. You double it and go out a half a pound. Most of the time.
Yeah.
And that was something that threw me for a loop. But then transitioning, okay, so we both made the cut. So we're transitioning into the knockout round. That's the opportunity where we go to 0. And this is one thing that I will say that I really like that knockout round. And people are going to say, hey, look, you're going to have 4 days of cumulative weight. But for me, I look at this. You look at guys that go out there. I've been a beneficiary of this, going out there and catch a really big bag in one day.
Yeah.
And then be able to ride that through the tournament.
Yes.
Does that truly mean I was the best angler that week?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Because
there's always going to be somebody coming up, making a stab at it from behind.
Absolutely.
And in any other format, they may not make the cut or get an opportunity to compete on that final day.
There is way more strategy in this format right here
Yeah.
than I've ever been a part of ever before.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand what's going on, and this is the thing. You have to be the best angler for the whole week.
Yeah.
There's not like you can be a good angler here and you got to save stuff if you possibly can, and you got to prepare for the conditions ahead, and every part of the way you got to understand that. So if you sit there and you wreck on a place, and you catch 30 bass off there and you make the cut off that place, you're probably not going to catch a whole lot more fish there moving forward. So I think that was different. So going to that knockout round, weather warmed up. You guys if you guys watched the YouTube video, weather warmed up.
Yeah.
It got warm.
Slicked off.
It did. It slicked off. And when that happens, what happens in Florida, Mark?
The big mamas start creeping. And I mean, it happens like that.
It's unbelievable. Huh?
You could almost, if you could remove the water, you could, they just you could visually see them just, and sometimes in Florida, you can literally see them coming into these areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, where y'all been all this time?
Especially when you see them white ones.
Okay.
And when they get from the mud.
Where you been?
Oh, you've been in that mud.
You've been hiding. You've been
over there.
You've been out creeping out a little deep.
That's a telltale sign. Just on Okeechobee and on Kissimmee,
absolutely.
When you start seeing those white fish in that clear blackish water that Florida had, that tannic water, that right there is a telltale sign that they're moving in.
They're just coming in,
and
you're catching them. So they're coming in. They're white in color, and you're catching them shallow. That equation, because why are they shallow and they look so pale? Because they just got there.
Yeah.
So that's something to really pay attention to. And then you said something earlier too about what you're doing. That's super important, in my opinion. Anytime you're down in Florida, and it's not just a Kissimmee chain thing. I think it's anywhere in Florida. Is that clear water?
Yeah, it's a huge deal.
Them suckers almost will not bite in off color to stain, and absolutely not dirty water. Won't happen. So when you're down in Florida, always pay attention to water clarity, which coincides with good healthy grass.
Yeah,
when you get around good grass,
hydrilla,
eelgrass. You start getting around clear water, little coontail.
Absolutely.
And that's big. So keep that in mind too.
That's a huge ordeal. So like that day, we had to switch it up. I think we talked a little bit about it.
Oh yeah.
That last day on the knockout round.
Yeah.
DC, made the cut. Sun gun, lucky day, lucky charm. I don't know what he did.
Rabbit foot. Something.
I don't know what happened there.
That sucker killed them, boy.
Unbelievable.
Smash, man.
Ended up coming all the way back and
took the lead
and won that day.
That round. Yeah.
So how did you catch him on the knockout round?
So I knew what I had going on in the canals with the crankbait, and then I also caught someone on an ankle rig as well. That was dwindling. It was getting hit. I knew guys were popping up, more pressure, and it was replenishing, but it wasn't replenishing enough. So I knew I needed to do something. So I just went practicing, and that's something that, as a tournament angler, you just have to be comfortable with doing, fishing by the seat of your pants, because that's when you're gonna run into something. And that's what happened to me, man. I made a run down to Kissimmee. I didn't get down to the mats on the south end. Little sneaky spots like you found, but
they were good for one day only.
That's okay.
That's it.
You caught them though.
I caught him or lost him. I put a hook in there. I put a hook in there. Freaking.
Man, I went over there into a little area that I like to fish south of what I call Ox Island, and got back up in there. Water was clear. Beautiful hydrilla, and I started pitching and casting a swim jig in between the pads, and I started immediately catching fish.
Yeah, and that was a telltale sign.
Immediately.
You knew.
And then the weather had got right. It slicked off, it got warmer, and they started to push up. And these were mostly the bucks.
Yeah.
Females are a little bit behind, but started catching them on a swim jig, caught some on a speed worm, and then I caught some on a big stick, punching some mats. There was some little ice, really small.
Small, like the size of the table?
Half the size of this table. You got to have your peepers on, man, and you got to have yourself a good pair of glasses. And so I have my Wiley X Peaks on, and I'm looking through these pads, and I would come across these small, isolated mats of pennywort, little small guys.
It's something about that thicker cover for them.
Man.
They
can just feel it.
It's almost like is it a heat thing, you think? Or is it just the fact of a security thing?
I think it's just a comfort zone, man.
Yeah.
And then it could be a shade thing too, or a heat thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you out there pitching around in the pads and all of a sudden you see a little clump of anything, could be water hyacinth, could be water lettuce, could be pennywort, but it's overhead cover that's causing shade, and it's just giving them like a little refuge. Always fish that stuff.
All right, in your opinion, just real quick, it's like I got to pick his brain. I also want to know. In your opinion, if you had one kind of mat to punch in Florida, in top, or say let's just say four, one kind of mat, and say or top three. How about that? Say top three.
Top three.
If you were gonna punch one kind of mat, and what I mean by that is hydrilla, water hyacinth, water lettuce,
so many
pennywort,
primrose,
eelgrass, blown in eelgrass,
mats.
top mats. In your opinion, if you had to pick a couple of them, in your mind, most of the time, I mean, you can't, obviously all of them were, but I just wanted to know if there was like...
Man, I'm a big fan of hyacinth.
Are you?
I'm a big fan of hyacinth. Hyacinth is really cool, and it's not a rooted vegetation.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when you hem up one of those big fish and some of those other gnarlier mats, that gator grass, that primrose, your chances of catching that fish really, really go down.
Yeah.
But in your hyacinth, which is just a floating overhead vegetation, you're gonna land.
And they got
a lot
them
of
big
fish.
bulbs too.
They got the big bulbs.
They got big bulbs, and they got and I think something about
the little
that,
roots hanging down.
Yeah, that roots hanging down. There's something about a hyacinth mat. It's almost like I would way rather punch a hyacinth mat than a water lettuce mat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a water lettuce mat, just sort of, I know we're getting into a little depth, but for you, some of you guys are really, that know and have a lot of vegetation around your house. And a lot of mats. That is something that it's just something about the cover. I think it's just more cover for them, more shade.
Yeah.
Just provide. I don't know if the little grass shrimp get in there more.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's where I was going with it. A friend of mine years ago in the California Delta showed me something, and it blew my mind. I didn't know about it. He said, "Man, you know why them fish always on this hyacinth?" I said, "No, I don't know." He eased up in that hyacinth with his boat. He reached over his side, pulled up a whole clump of hyacinth, and he threw it on his deck. Like kind of hard.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Look, come here." And he started showing me with his finger, and I started looking close, and you could see all them little shrimp scooting around.
Yeah.
There's like 50, 60 of them. Well, that's what your shad, your shiners, your bluegill,
all of it,
baby bass, anything that's small, that's the beginning of the whole life cycle right there.
That's huge.
And what's right behind them?
Them
big bass.
Big bass.
It's just the
predator fish.
That's it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why you see crappie catchers. They catch a lot of crappie
around. Absolutely.
They do. It's unbelievable.
Man, it's just a whole process, man. And so that's something I learned. And anytime I see hyacinth,
you're gonna make
I'm going to fish.
You're going to die.
I'm a double weight in there.
You're going to double big weight.
Guaranteed. Yeah, it's gonna happen.
So we both had. You ended up
15th.
15th. I ended up 27. Not great. We had solid points. We both got paid. Which in the Bass Pro Tour, we don't have any entry fees.
That's right.
So another thing I do want to say, yeah, absolutely. I will want to say this too. There may no entry fees. So for some of you guys who don't understand, like back in the day when we were fishing FLW Tour and Elite Series,
yeah,
our entry fees were $5,000, $5,500, $5,300,
and $75 if I'm not mistaken. $5,375
last year. Yep.
Last year.
And so when you really think about that, when you got a $10,000 check,
yep,
you truly when you factor in $2,000 in expenses on the road traveling,
yeah,
your $5,000, you're really only making a couple grand, maybe, and that's if you get a check. So
right.
It was a very difficult way to make a living, and it still is. Do not get me wrong.
Oh, there's no doubt.
But with this opportunity in Major League Fishing, I think it ultimately gives. Like, I'm excited for the future of the sport.
There's no doubt. Like,
I'm excited because ultimately now, like, when you qualify for Major League Fishing's Pro Tour,
yep,
you don't have a $50,000 entry fee you have to pay for that whole year.
That burden is gone, man.
I mean, you might spend $30,000 in expenses, and so what that ultimately did for us is, if we our sponsors and our partners,
absolutely,
we got a raise,
absolutely,
and so that was a huge deal and a huge help to us and our families,
absolutely, yeah,
and,
no doubt.
And ultimately a huge step in the right direction for the sport.
There's no doubt, man. The little kids coming up now that are watching YouTube, and they're going, man, this is what I want to do for a living. And now, being able to have the opportunity to do this for a living and not have to wear the burden of the entry fees, man. And people don't realize it until you get out here and you have to wear that burden, man. You got to come up with these deposits early in the year, and then as soon as the season started, you hadn't even made a cash yet, and you got to cough up another, $10, $12, $15,000, whatever the case may be. You got to get all your gear. I mean, I remember I was $22,000 in the hole before I made a cast.
Yep.
Between getting my, getting all my stuff, my boat, motor, and everything rigged, and just everything that that you have to do as a professional angler, plus entry fees.
That's tough with two kids at home. Man, that's tough with a family and two kids at home.
It's rough, man.
It's not the easiest thing.
No doubt, man. But it's it's what we do. It's what we love. This is our careers. We have to do it. Not complaining. This is a dream job, no doubt. But the future, like you said, is so bright for the kids coming up now that want to have an opportunity to compete at the highest level and not have an entry fee. I think that's when we really get.
I think that's our number one thing that we've accomplished so far this year.
Yeah. With
Major League Fishing is
no doubt.
This is a setup for an opportunity for the next generation. Sure. This is not just about us.
Well, and how about this? Just one point alone. So bass fishing professionally has been around for 50 plus years.
Yeah.
About 51 now, to be exact. This is the first time in professional bass fishing history that there's no entry. The first time.
And looking at what in the past, like all we were poker players. We're using our own money, betting on making
betting on yourself.
Hey, we got a better hand over here.
That's it. Yeah.
Hey, I will get
Let's roll.
Absolutely.
Put it all right here. Yeah, that's right.
So look, I'm excited for the whole year. We had a solid finish.
We did.
We were excited. Hey, look, but I got beat by Mark and DC. So I gotta step it up here.
DC
I gotta step it up here on this one.
Got paid.
I'm gonna get you this week. I'm gonna try to get you this week.
I'm not gonna just allow that to happen. Now we talking about Jay Wills. My man is a major hammer here, but we ain't just rolling over.
Trust me, he's gonna crack a few. It's funny because I got to fish against him in our group this week. We're Group B, kind of OB right. Group A, so it'll swap.
Swaps,
it'll be the similar. Same groups, but swapping the groups, and then ultimately we'll seed the groups after this event. So after 2 tournaments, we'll seed it. So anyway, guys, we appreciate you all. Trust me, we really do. We really appreciate the subscribers. We appreciate you. Do me a favor, like and subscribe to the channel. Mark and I, we really appreciate it. Everybody, we have a lot of fun with y'all, and just leave a comment. Let us know what your thoughts are. I'm always, and it's the thing. If you're gonna comment, do me a favor and be constructive with it. If you have something negative to say, be constructive with it.
What your mama tell you when you was a kid?
What's that?
If you got something negative to say, don't say it at all.
Well, I don't even have to say that. I know exactly right.
But constructive criticism is something different than just being negative.
Absolutely.
Screw MLF, you guys just catch dinks.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
I mean, dude, like, look, there's a lot more to this deal, so we appreciate you guys watching. We'll see y'all next time. So you're